Alright, what's up guys? In today's video, we're going over the M13 assault rifle in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Today we're going to go over the stats of the gun and talk about the good, the bad, and the best class setups for it. Basically reviewing this gun and giving you guys my honest opinion of it, because there's a lot of weapons in this game that, you know, the stats aren't that well public, because there's just a little box that says this is the damage, this is the range. Without actually knowing the physical stats of the gun, you can't really judge whether or not the gun is good unless you use it for, you know, 100 to 500 kills and able to test it out. So I'm just be talking about the M13 in today's video, telling you guys the exact info you want to know whether or not the gun is good, and give you guys my review of it. So the first thing we're talking about is the overall stats, talking about where they rank as far as comparing them to other assault rifles, because I think that's the biggest factor when I was determining what I want to talk about in this video. The thing I learned most, or the thing I wanted to include most, is where this gun ranks statistically kind of compared to the rest of the guns in its class, which is the assault rifles. There is 7 assault rifles, which is going to be the M13, the M4, the Kilo, the Ram, the Scar, and the AUG with the 5.56 ammo. So there's 7 assault rifles that it can be classed up against. So we're going to talk about the stats of the gun and then ranking them as the worst to best out of those 7 assault rifles. Talking about the damage of the weapon is a 5 to 6 shot kill, which has a 24-18 damage profile, meaning at close range it does 24 damage, at long range it does 18. Now, if you compare that to any other SMG in the game, it is identical, if not worse damage than all of the SMGs, maybe a couple. So the damage is the worst out of all these rifles, and compared to the SMGs, it's probably worse than a lot of the SMGs as well. So the overall damage is the biggest factor in what determines how bad this gun really is. The best thing about it is the overall fire, which is 900 rounds per minute. The only other gun that can beat it in the assault rifle category is going to be the M4 with the 9mm rounds on it, which makes it an SMG. So it has the fastest fire rate out of all the assault rifles. The only thing that even comes close to it is the Ram 7 and the M4, which are a little bit slower than it. So a really high fast fire rate is definitely going to counter the low damage. And then the ADS speed is 199 milliseconds, which is the second fastest ADS speed, only to the Ram 7. So it has an identical ADS speed as the M4 and the Kilo, which are the 2 best assault rifles. So now what that's going to give you is that what the overall time to kill is of the weapon. And out of every single assault rifle, including the 1 and 2 shot kill weapons, this has the slowest time to kill statistically out of every single assault rifle, including the AUG in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Literally the worst time to kill as far as how long it takes to kill somebody out of every single assault rifle in the game. So you're going to be asking yourself, what actually makes this gun good? Why I should use, you know, what should I try it out with? What class setup should I be using with it? And how can I make the gun actually usable? With the lowest time to kill, the lowest damage, but it has a really high fire rate and a really high ADS. The biggest positive about the weapon is you can turn it into an SMG with a couple of attachments. Obviously, you're going to include the stipple grip, the nose stock, which is going to make the ADS speed SMG-like. And then you can add the Tempest Mini and all that other kind of attachments that basically turn it into a speed class setup. That is probably the best thing about the gun. Obviously, by the low damage, you could put SMG style stats on it, put in all the fastest ADS speed, all that kind of stuff, turn it to an SMG, but it's not going to have the damage of the MP5, the MP7, even the Bison. So that's probably the biggest positive, is a really fast weapon. So it can be very good close range, even though with the low time to kill and the low damage. But the second biggest thing that's the most important of it, it does have very minimal recoil. So making a good class setup for this gun is actually fairly easy. I do play a lot of ground war, so the best class setup I recommended, and the only time I found this gun useful was in ground war, because you're in those long range gunfights where you're not going to notice the biggest difference as far as the time to kill, because you're going to catch people off guard and not really engaging in one-on-one gunfights. So the best class setup, and the only class setup I really recommend for this, is going to be the base class setup I use pretty much on every single ground war class. The difference in this one in specific is I'm going to run a grip over the red dot, because the recoil in this gun is very minimal up and down. It just kicks dead right. So anything that kicks dead right, you're going to add the commando foregrip, which helps with the recoil stabilization. It does have a very good default reticle, so you don't really need to run a red dot on this. And then I run the Tempest Marksman, which is going to help your overall range, which is going to help you to get more 5-shot kills instead of 6 by increasing your range It also increases your bullet velocity, and it's going to give you a bit of increase to your recoil control, which is going to make your movement speed and your ADS speed worse. And then obviously the monolithic suppressor, because this gun is best in silencer. You do not want people to know where you're at. If somebody knows where you're at, they can hear you shooting, they're going to be able to kill you much easier, because this gun's time to kill is so bad. So running the suppressor is going to give it just a little bit more range, which is the one thing this gun lacks in. So obviously the fast fire rate, you're definitely going to run the 50 or the 60 round mag. The reason I only run 50 over 60 is because the ADS speed, the movement speed is going to be a little bit worse 60. In order to counter the extended mags with the commando foregrip, which is going to make your movement speed worse, I add the no stock attachment, which is going to help my ADS and my movement speed. Like I said, this gun is very fast ADS already. So the biggest thing about adding the no stock versus the stipple grip is basically to help with the speed, the movement speed of the weapon, so you can get around fast. So the class sub is basically the base M13 with an increase in accuracy and a significant increase in the range, which is the biggest thing the gun lacks in. So you break that down to give you the best class setup. Basically, you're getting a gun that has very good accuracy with minimal range, getting an increase in your range. So that's the biggest negative, in my opinion, is even if you make the gun the best possible class setup I can recommend to you, the only thing you're getting is a little bit better accuracy and an increase in your range. So that's probably the biggest negative. There's not really a best class setup that can make this gun significantly better. So let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think of the M13. How good of a SAR rifle do you guys rate it? Like I said, after reviewing the actual stats, this gun is very bad, but when I actually use it in game, I actually really enjoyed using it. Even though the time to kill is really low, I found the accuracy to be the best thing about it. So make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. If you guys have not yet already heard, my discount code on GFUEL is 30% off. Make sure you guys use code Trapgod on all your GFUEL and your Scuff gaming purchases. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one.